Hello, love. I'm Ada Hartley, and I'm here with you to help you slow down and gently drift into a peaceful sleep. You can begin to settle now. Find a comfortable position. Let your body rest exactly as it wants to. There is nothing you need to do, nothing to achieve, nothing to follow perfectly. You can simply listen or let my voice drift in and out of your awareness. And tonight, I'll gently tell you a quiet story, a slow, peaceful story about a calm day in a small medieval village. You don't need to remember anything. You don't need to follow every detail. Just allow the words to wash over you, softly, slowly. Now, let's take a slow breath together. Inhale and exhale. Again, gently breathing in and slowly breathing out. Let your body begin to soften, your shoulders dropping slightly, your jaw relaxing, your breath becoming quiet. There is nowhere to go, nothing to hold, just this moment and your breath. And now, as your body begins to rest, let yourself drift into the story. You may imagine it clearly or only feel it softly. Either way is perfectly enough. Long ago, in a quiet valley, there was a small village, hidden between gentle hills and narrow dirt paths. The air there was calm and carried the soft scent of wood and earth. The day begins slowly, not with noise, not with urgency, but with a soft light spreading across the sky. The sun rises gently, touching the rooftops of small wooden houses, each roof slightly different, each window quiet and still. There are no crowds, no rush, only a few narrow paths winding between homes. A well stands at the centre, made of stone, worn with time. Nearby, a wooden bench where someone might sit and rest. The ground is uneven, soft beneath your feet, and everything feels slow. One by one, the villagers begin to wake. A door opens quietly. Someone steps outside, breathing in the cool morning air. Another figure moves slowly, carrying a small basket. There is no hurry. Each movement is soft and steady, and everything feels slow and calm and quiet. Nothing needs to be done quickly. Nothing needs to be finished. The day unfolds in its own gentle rhythm. In one of the small homes, someone begins to prepare bread. Flour is gently poured, water added slowly. Hands move in a steady rhythm, mixing, folding, pressing, again and again. The dough softens and forms. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just a simple repeating motion. Outside, a soft breeze moves through the trees. Leaves shift quietly, barely making a sound. The sky remains wide, open, and still. A bird crosses the distance, slowly, effortlessly. As the day continues, the light becomes warmer, softly filling the village. Someone sits outside, resting. Another walks slowly along the path. No one is rushing. No one is late. There is time for everything. And everything continues in the same quiet rhythm. Slow, gentle, steady. Nothing changes quickly, and nothing needs to. As the day continues in the small medieval village, nothing changes quickly, and yet, if you stay with the moment long enough, you begin to notice how many small, quiet processes are happening all around, each one unfolding slowly, almost invisibly, as if the entire village is breathing in a steady, unhurried rhythm. In one of the homes, built from rough wooden beams and packed earth, a clay oven is being prepared for the evening. And this is not something that happens quickly or without thought, because heating such an oven requires time, patience, and a simple but reliable routine that has been repeated for generations. The wood used for the fire has been gathered earlier in the day, or sometimes the day before, usually by the men of the household, who walk out toward the edge of the nearby forest in the early hours of the morning, carrying simple tools, cutting small branches and dry wood, choosing pieces that will burn steadily rather than too quickly, because the goal is not a strong fire, but a consistent, even heat. The wood is brought back in small bundles, tied loosely with rope and stacked carefully near the house, protected from moisture, so that when the time comes, it is ready to be used without effort. Now, as the afternoon slowly moves forward, a few pieces of this wood are placed into the oven, one by one, without rushing, and the fire is lit gently, not with urgency, but with familiarity, as if this action has been performed so many times that it no longer requires attention. The flames begin small, barely noticeable at first, and then gradually grow, filling the oven with a soft, steady warmth. And there is a quiet crackling sound, subtle and repetitive, blending into the background of the village. Nothing about this process is loud or dramatic. It is simply happening. Outside, along the narrow dirt paths that connect the houses, you might notice someone walking slowly, carrying a wooden bucket, perhaps returning from the well at the centre of the village, where water is drawn using a rope and a simple pulley system, lowered carefully into the dark, cool depth below. Drawing water is not a quick action either. The rope must be guided slowly, the bucket lowered with control, allowed to fill, and then pulled back up with steady effort, the weight increasing as it rises, the movement requiring patience and strength, but never urgency. And once the bucket reaches the surface, it is carried back, step by step, without spilling, without rushing, simply as part of the natural rhythm of the day. Not far from there, near the edge of the village, a small garden stretches quietly beside one of the homes, and although it may not seem like much at first glance, it provides a steady source of simple food, grown slowly over time, tended carefully each day. The soil is dark and slightly uneven, and rows of plants grow close to the ground, leaves moving just slightly in the soft afternoon air. Someone may be kneeling there, gently touching the earth, removing small weeds, checking the condition of the plants, not in a hurry, but with a calm, practiced attention that comes from doing the same thing day after day. There is no pressure to finish quickly. There is only the act itself. And as all of these small moments unfold at the same time, the fire warming the oven, the water being carried, the garden being tended, the village remains quiet, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening slowly, so slowly that the mind does not need to follow it, so gently that it almost disappears. If you stay with this scene just a little longer, you may begin to feel how predictable everything is, how each part of the day flows into the next without resistance, without interruption, and without the need for anything to be different. There is no sudden change, no unexpected noise, no urgency, only repetition and calm and quiet continuation. And as the light begins to shift almost imperceptibly, becoming warmer and slightly softer, the same rhythm continues, unchanged, steady, reliable, as if time itself has slowed down, allowing each small action to take exactly as long as it needs. As the afternoon slowly gives way to evening, the light across the village begins to soften even more, shifting from warm gold into deeper, quieter tones. And although nothing changes suddenly, there is a clear sense that the day is gently coming to an end. The movement in the village becomes even slower now, as if every action is stretching slightly longer, taking its time without any need to be completed quickly. One by one, the people who have been outside begin to return to their homes, walking along the same narrow dirt paths, their steps steady and unhurried, carrying small tools, baskets, or simple bundles of wood gathered earlier in the day. There is no rush to arrive, only the quiet continuation of familiar routines. Inside one of the homes, the warmth from the clay oven has now fully spread through the small interior space, and the air feels slightly warmer than outside, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke mixed with something soft and earthy. The house itself is built from thick wooden beams, roughly shaped and fitted together without perfect symmetry, with gaps carefully sealed using a mixture of clay, straw, and earth, creating walls that are strong, insulating, and slightly textured to the touch. If you were to run your hand along the wall, you would feel the uneven surface, not rough in an uncomfortable way, but natural, slightly grainy, with small imperfections that tell the story of how the house was built, slowly and by hand. The floor is made of packed earth, firm beneath your feet, sometimes covered with simple woven mats made from dried grasses or fibres, placed in areas where people sit or rest. There is no excess, no decoration beyond what is useful. Everything has a purpose. Everything is simple. Near the centre of the room, the clay oven continues to radiate heat, and beside it, a small wooden table holds a few basic items, perhaps a bowl made from carved wood, a clay jug filled with water, and a small piece of cloth folded neatly to one side. The bowls and plates used here are not perfectly smooth or identical. They are shaped by hand, often from clay or wood, and each one is slightly different, with small variations in thickness, colour, and texture. Some may have tiny imperfections along the edges, slight curves where the material settled unevenly as it dried, and yet they are fully functional, used daily, handled with care but without concern for perfection. As the fire inside the oven settles into a steady, glowing heat, food preparation continues quietly. Nothing elaborate, nothing rushed. Perhaps a simple mixture of grains or bread that has been placed inside earlier, now slowly baking in the residual warmth. The process is slow by design. The oven retains heat long after the flames have settled, allowing the food to cook gradually, evenly, without needing constant attention. And so there is no need to watch it closely. It simply continues on its own. Somewhere in the room, a small oil lamp or candle has been lit, casting a soft, flickering glow across the walls, creating gentle shadows that move almost imperceptibly, shifting with the subtle movement of air. The light is not bright. It does not fill the room completely. Instead, it creates pockets of warmth, small areas of visibility surrounded by deeper shadows, making everything feel more intimate, more contained, more quiet. As the evening deepens, the sounds of the village outside begin to fade even further. The occasional footsteps become less frequent. The distant movement of people slows and then disappears. The air outside grows cooler and the stillness becomes more complete. Inside the home, the rhythm continues, but even more softly now. A piece of fabric might be folded carefully, a wooden tool set aside, a small adjustment made to the fire, each action performed slowly without unnecessary movement. There is a natural understanding of the transition into night. No clocks, no schedules, just the gradual change in light and temperature and sound. At some point, the food is ready, not announced, not marked by any specific moment, simply understood. It has been enough time. The meal is simple, perhaps shared quietly. No conversation needed, only the soft presence of others, or even just the quiet presence of the space itself. And after the meal, everything begins to settle even more. The table is cleared slowly. The bowls are rinsed with a small amount of water, set aside, left to dry. Nothing is hurried, nothing is postponed. Everything is done in its time. As the last of the light fades from the sky, the interior of the home becomes the only space that feels warm and visible. Outside, the village is now mostly dark, still, silent, Inside, a place for rest has already been prepared. Not elaborate, not soft in the way you might imagine today, but sufficient. A simple bed made from a wooden frame, or sometimes just a raised platform, covered with layers of fabric, wool, or straw-filled bedding, materials that hold warmth, that create a sense of enclosure. Blankets are laid out carefully, adjusted slowly, each movement deliberate but never rushed. And as the body begins to prepare for rest, there is no stimulation, no interruption, no bright light, no noise, no urgency. Only the quiet continuation of the day, moving gently into night. The fire is allowed to settle, not extinguished completely, but reduced, so that it continues to give a small amount of warmth through the night. The candle flickers softly, casting slow, moving shadows, and everything becomes even quieter, even slower, even softer. You can almost feel how the entire village is now at rest, each home quiet, each path empty, each moment settled. And just like the village, your body can begin to rest too. There is nothing left to follow, nothing left to do, nothing left to think about. Everything has already been completed, and now only rest remains. As night fully settles over the village, the last remaining traces of daylight disappear so gradually that no one could say exactly when evening ended and night truly began. Because in a place like this, far from clocks, bright lanterns, and the sharp markers of modern time, darkness arrives gently, layer by layer, tone by tone, until everything that was once visible in warm gold and muted blue is now softened into shadow, quiet, and stillness. Outside the homes, the paths that connected one doorway to another are no longer active, and the soft traces of footsteps made earlier in the day now rest undisturbed in the cooling ground. The air has changed. It is no longer touched by the warmth of the sun, and instead carries that particular clarity that only arrives at night, a cooler, cleaner feeling that settles over the fields, the wooden fences, the small gardens, and the grass that grows in uneven patches at the edge of the village. If you were standing outside now and looking across the village in the darkness, you would notice how still everything has become. The roofs of the houses, made from timber, straw, thatch, and simple layered materials gathered from the surrounding land, no longer hold the brightness of the day. Instead, they seem to fold into the night itself, becoming darker shapes against a deeper sky. The wooden walls, the rough doors, the fences, the posts, the tools left outside. All of them now seem less like individual objects and more like quiet forms resting in place, without movement, without demand. And beyond the houses, beyond the paths and the gardens and the stacked wood, the fields lie under the open sky in complete calm. The grass bends only slightly if there is any night breeze at all, and even that movement is so soft that it is almost impossible to notice. The tops of the taller grasses, which were warmed and dried during the day, now begin to cool as the night deepens. Moisture starts to gather, not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly, so quietly that it almost seems imagined. Tiny droplets begin to form on the blades of grass, on leaves, on the edges of herbs and low plants, on the stems of things growing close to the earth. These first traces of night moisture are delicate. If someone were awake to see them, they would notice how the coolness of the air slowly draws the warmth out of the ground and out of the surfaces that were touched by sun only a few hours earlier. The earth beneath everything is releasing the day. The heat stored in wood, stone, soil and clay is fading, little by little, and the village is entering that part of the night where everything becomes equal in temperature, quiet in tone, and softened into stillness. Far above, the sky has deepened into dark blue, then darker still, and if the clouds are thin enough or scattered enough, the stars begin to show themselves. Not all at once, but one by one, in the same slow rhythm that defines everything here. They do not flash or demand attention. They simply appear, distant, steady, unhurried. The night sky above the village is wide and calm, and nothing in it feels dramatic. It is not a stormy night, not a dangerous one, not a night full of urgent winds or restless movement. It is a stable night, a quiet one, the kind of night in which sleep comes naturally because the whole world around you seems to be sleeping too. Inside the house, the transition into deeper night is felt differently. The room still holds some warmth from the clay oven, and that warmth matters more and more as the air outside cools. Houses in the village are built not for decoration, but for shelter, for insulation, protection, and the practical holding of warmth. The walls, formed from wooden structures packed with clay, straw, and earth, keep some of the day's heat contained. The floor, though made from packed earth, may be covered in places with woven mats or rough woolen layers, which soften the cold and keep the sleeping area more comfortable. Near the oven, the warmth is strongest. Clay, once heated, does not lose its heat quickly. That is one of the reasons such ovens are so useful, especially in places where fuel must be gathered by hand and cannot be wasted. The fire that was stronger earlier in the evening has now settled into a more modest state. The flames are no longer active in the way they were before. Instead, there may be glowing embers, hidden warmth, and a low internal heat that continues to radiate quietly into the room. This kind of warmth is not dramatic. It does not fill the house in sudden waves. It simply remains, steadily, patiently, enough to keep the small interior from becoming too cold too quickly. And near this remaining warmth, the sleeping area has been prepared with the same practical calm that shaped every other part of the day. A bed in such a home is not built for luxury, but it is made with understanding. The wooden frame, if there is one, is simple and strong, assembled from available timber, shaped with hand tools. Its surface not perfectly smooth, but stable enough to support layers placed above it. In some homes, there may be a rope-laced structure beneath the bedding, or tightly stretched cords, or a simple raised wooden base. In others, bedding may rest on a thick platform of straw or dried plant material, gathered and bundled to create both softness and insulation from the colder air nearer the ground. The filling of a pillow, if the household has one, would not resemble the soft, manufactured cushions of modern life. Instead, a pillow might be made from cloth sewn by hand and filled with straw, wool, dried grasses, scraps of softened fabric, or sometimes feathers if the family had access to them. A pillow stuffed with straw would feel firmer and would need to be adjusted often because the filling shifts and settles with use. A wool-filled pillow might hold warmth better and feel slightly softer, though still dense and practical. A feather pillow would be more rare, more valuable, and likely used with care. In every case, the pillow serves the same simple purpose: to support the head, to create ease, and to make rest more possible. The blankets, too, are made from what the household can produce, gather, repair, or trade for. Wool is important because wool holds warmth even when the air grows cold, and because it can be woven into thick, dependable coverings that last many seasons if cared for properly. Some blankets may be made from coarser wool, heavy and slightly rough, but warm. Others may be layered from linen and wool together, with one piece over another to trap warmth between them. The making of these coverings is not quick. It begins with shearing animals, cleaning fibres, spinning thread by hand, and weaving or stitching over many days, often many weeks. What eventually becomes a blanket begins as labour, repetition, patience, and skill. So when it is placed over the bed at night, it carries not only warmth, but the quiet history of many careful hands. And because every object in the house has been made slowly, every object seems to belong naturally to the rhythm of night. Nothing feels disposable. Nothing feels accidental. The bowl on the table, the folded cloth near the wall, the wooden stool beside the bed, the mat beneath bare feet, the iron hook near the oven, the small jug of water left for morning, all of it has its place, and at night that sense of place becomes even stronger. There is no extra motion, no clutter of unfinished things, no constant rearranging. The house has settled into itself. Now imagine someone preparing to sleep here. There is no electric light to delay the night, no noise pulling the attention outward, no endless stream of new information. There is only the body, the room, the warmth that remains from the oven, and the quiet intelligence of old routines. Shoes or work-worn coverings are removed. A folded layer of cloth may be placed nearby for morning. The blanket is lifted and settled again, the pillow adjusted. Perhaps one final check is made to the oven, just to ensure the warmth will hold a little longer. Perhaps the door is secured, and then there is almost nothing left to do. Outside, the night continues its own quiet work. Dew gathers more fully now, beading along the grass, forming on leaves, clinging to low wooden fences, cooling the garden beds where herbs and vegetables grew during the day. The soil exhales the remaining warmth it held from sunlight. The air grows colder a little more. If there are animals nearby, they too have quieted. A distant movement might happen somewhere, small, natural, and quickly absorbed by silence again. But nothing disturbs the overall feeling of stillness. If there is wind, it is minimal. If there is sounds, they are faint. Perhaps the roof gives a soft response to cooling air. Perhaps a timber settles. Perhaps the smallest ember shifts within the oven. But these are not disruptive sounds. They are gentle reminders that even stillness has texture. And as the body lies down in such a room, wrapped in layers that hold the day's last warmth, something in the nervous system begins to understand that the active part of the day is over. There is no need to keep watch, no need to plan, no need to solve. The house itself seems to teach the body how to rest. Its materials are simple. Its warmth is modest. Its darkness is soft. Its silence is full enough to hold you. The bedding beneath the body is not luxurious, but it is grounding. The weight of wool or linen over the body is not light, but reassuring. The pillow beneath the head may not be perfectly soft, but it is sufficient, and sometimes sufficiency is the most calming thing of all. Enough warmth, enough shelter, enough quiet, enough rest. As the night goes on, the house becomes even stiller. The last small movement of flame has given way to embers. The candle, if one was still burning, may have been extinguished to preserve its wax or oil, leaving the room lit only by the faintest orange glow from the oven's interior. Shadows no longer move in any noticeable way. The air inside the room settles into stable coolness beyond the circle of retained warmth, and the fabrics over the body hold that warmth close. The village beyond the walls is now fully asleep. Every path is empty. Every house holds its own pocket of night. The fields are dark. The grass is silvered faintly with moisture. The sky remains high and deep above everything. If anyone were awake enough to look outside, they might notice a slight mist beginning to gather lower to the ground in places where the air is coldest. But even that would be subtle, barely there, more sensed than seen. And now, because the world around the house is so quiet, the smallest details within the room begin to feel larger. The weave of the blanket, the faint scent of smoke in the clay walls, the dense, earthy smell of packed floor and stored wood, the softness of worn cloth at the edge of the bed, the warmth trapped beneath the blanket, the cooler air touching the face or hands, the slow, natural rhythm of breathing in a space that asks nothing more of you. This is the kind of night in which sleep does not need to be forced. It arrives because everything around you supports it. The dark sky, the cooling ground, the quiet grass holding dew, the heavy wool blanket, the clay oven slowly releasing its final warmth, the timber of the house resting in place, the village complete in its silence. The whole landscape is already asleep, or nearly so, and your body can feel that. Nothing more needs to happen tonight. The fire has done its work. The wood was gathered. The meal was prepared. The bowls were set aside. The bedding was laid out. The door was secured. The village is quiet. The fields are still. The night has arrived fully, and now the only thing left is rest. You can imagine the pillow beneath your head becoming more comfortable with every passing moment, simply because your body is yielding to it. You can imagine the blanket holding warmth in a soft pocket around you. You can imagine the night outside growing deeper and calmer, while inside the house everything stays protected, contained, and quiet. Even the grass outside has settled into its night form now, each blade carrying a little coolness, a little moisture, a little weight from the dew that formed so slowly no one could have watched it happen in real time. The herbs in the garden are still. The path no longer changes. The fence no longer casts a visible shadow. The roof simply rests above the walls. The stars remain where they are, and the darkness, rather than feeling empty, feels full of permission to stop thinking, to stop following, to stop holding, to stop carrying. And if you imagine the people of the village now, they are not active in the way they were before. They are no longer gathering wood or carrying water or tending the oven or preparing food. Those tasks belong to the day. Night belongs to something else, to release, to quiet, to stillness, to breath slowing down because there is nothing left to do. So the house rests, the village rests, the fields rest, the grass rests, the tools rest, the oven cools slowly, the blankets hold warmth, the pillow supports the head, the body grows heavier, the breathing grows quieter, and little by little, without needing to notice exactly when it happens, the last layer of wakefulness begins to loosen. The details of the room become softer. The edges of the story become less important. The village itself becomes more distant, more dreamlike, more like a calm impression than a place you need to picture clearly. There is only the feeling now. Warmth, shelter, night, stillness, enoughness, rest. And beyond the house, across the meadows and garden paths and fenced earth and damp grass, the whole village is sleeping under the same dark sky, beneath the same quiet stars, held by the same night air that cools everything gently and asks for nothing in return. You can let yourself become part of that same stillness now. You can rest the way the fields rest, quietly, without effort, without explanation. You can soften the way the fire softens into embers, gradually, naturally, without needing to do anything at all. You can settle the way dew settles on the grass, lightly, silently, almost without noticing. And if some small part of your mind is still listening, still following, still awake enough to hear these words, that is all right. It does not need to keep working. It does not need to keep watch. It can simply drift with the rhythm of this night, with the slow cooling of the earth, with the fading warmth of the oven, with the weight of the blanket, with the quiet of the sleeping village, because everything is already preparing you for sleep. The room, the dark, the wool, the clay, the timber, the silence, the stars, the grass, the night. Everything is gently leading you there.